Thank you. It's the owner here, and it seems like every time I eat here, I eat for free, so I apologize for that. But first, it's my job tonight to talk a little bit about MAG and to introduce its hierarchy. But I was so honored 2 years ago to receive the nomination, the first endorsement nomination from the MAG group. Small group then, I think maybe 1,000, 1,500 people. It's grown to upwards of 5,000. And it's a PAC now, and it is a very influential political action committee. It's interesting to me because there's a bunch of guys that came together, a bunch of upwardly mobile businessmen who had a fear that their country was strolling around the drain. And they wanted to do something to fix that. Really admirable. And when I was running, I went to Flinchies and stood in front of the crowd and answered questions along with all the other candidates, and I was so honored to get that endorsement. It was really kind of bittersweet tonight that they're going to give their endorsement to someone else. But it just goes to show that this movement is growing. It's so important that this movement is growing, and these guys are getting traction here in the Mid-State. They are really, I truly believe this, are solely responsible for getting the Trump vote out in central Pennsylvania. How about that, folks? So, I'm told that it was about 3 or 4 guys sitting at a table one night over beers, and they hatched this idea to become MAG, Make America Great. And led by Steve Johansson, who is someone who loves his country, someone who cares about not only the political process, but just hoping and praying and working for things to be the way they should be, and looking for candidates who are going to serve the Mid-State the way we want them to. So it's my great pleasure to introduce to you. What's your title, President?
Chairman.
Chairman. Chairman of Make America Great, Steve Johansson.
Wow, it's an honor, real honor to stand in front of all of you tonight. There's some people I'd like to recognize before I get started. Number one, the mayor, Mr. Doug Morrow.
Mayor.
Doug Morrow. I could sit up here and talk about him all day. He's a doer, and I'm going to talk about a lot of doers tonight, people that get things done. That's going to be a big topic tonight. But Doug's a fantastic guy, and he's doing a tremendous job in New Cumberland. I appreciate that. David Sunday, the York County District Attorney, is here. Another doer. Dave started the heroin task force in York County, which is something that's very important to me, and I'm sure many people in this room. Dave gets things done, so thanks for coming tonight, Dave. I appreciate that. Dean Vallone is here tonight. He's a Lower Allen Township Commissioner. Thank you, Dean. I'd like to welcome everyone here today for a very important and special announcement. My name is Steve Johansson. I'm a 36-year-old small business owner from Cumberland County, and I'm the chairman of the Making America Great PAC. Before I get started, I would like to tell all of you a brief history about our group and what we stand for. MAG is a grassroots-based group that formed on a Saturday afternoon, as Mike said, and just like the United States Constitution, it was formed over a couple of beers at a pub. We aren't politicians. We aren't big political donors. We aren't members of special interest groups. None of our founders were ever involved with a political campaign before. We were just regular, ordinary, hard-working Pennsylvanians who felt like our best interests were forgotten by the political establishment. Together, we formed a private Facebook group with the idea of giving like-minded individuals a place to discuss politics and current events, or as liberals would term, a safe space. Our group took off very quickly and grew organically. Friends added friends who added their friends. By early 2016, we had far surpassed 2,000 members in Pennsylvania. Our group primarily held meetings and hosted candidates in town hall style forums to give our members a chance to meet and ask questions of candidates before making an informed decision to vote. Our efforts led us to the opening of the first Donald Trump campaign field office in central Pennsylvania during the Pennsylvania primary. The office was completely self-funded and managed and operated by MAG volunteers. We successfully formed a ground game and distributed over 66,000 delegate cards to voters across 2 congressional voting districts in Pennsylvania, electing all 6 of the Trump pledged delegates. MAG has become a powerful tool for communication and grassroots efforts throughout Pennsylvania politics and currently has almost 4,000 members in our private group alone on Facebook. I was proud to announce that in January of this year, we officially formed a federally approved federal and state approved PAC, and we are now Pennsylvania's largest grassroots-based PAC. The mission of our PAC is to promote reform-minded candidates who are pragmatic and solution-oriented, who believe in smaller government, personal accountability, and those who support the president's agenda. I first met Senator Scott Wagner in early January of 2017. I was attending Senator Reagan's swearing-in ceremony at the Capitol, and I asked Mike, I gotta meet Scott Wagner. A couple minutes later, Mike pulls me into Scott's office, interrupting him while he was in a board meeting with a bunch of people. And he says, Scott, you need to meet my friend Steve. He and his friends in MAG helped Donald Trump win Pennsylvania. I think he kind of looked at me like, who's this guy? And my first comments were to our senator, the hardworking folks of Pennsylvania voted for Donald Trump because he will go to Washington and he will shake things up and he will fight for us. I believe you can do the same thing here in Pennsylvania, and I want you to run for governor. He said, Steve, I'm working on it, give me a couple weeks. 2018 might be the most critical governor's race in our lifetimes. We have an opportunity to elect someone like all of us. Someone like Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, someone like President Donald Trump, a political outsider, someone who has built businesses from the ground up, someone who understands how to get things done. We are running out of time in Pennsylvania. We are broke, we are spending money we don't have, and we lack leadership big time. We have a governor who I liken to Where's Waldo. Everyone remembers the book growing up, Where's Waldo, right? You're trying to find Waldo in a crowd, he's tough, he's hiding everywhere. And instead of Where's Waldo, it should be Where's Tom? When times are tough and real leadership is needed to get things done, such as passing a responsible budget, where is the leadership from our governor? Like Waldo, he's hiding. Tom Wolf might be the most liberal governor in America. His failed leadership style I liken most to President Barack Obama. All talk and no action. See, the people of Pennsylvania are tired of unfulfilled political rhetoric from ideological driven leaders. The people of Pennsylvania want to see action. They want to see things getting done. They want better jobs, more opportunities. They want to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks, and they want to feel safe in their communities. Tom Wolf believes in everything we loathe. He doesn't believe in personal accountability. He thinks growing our government spurns economic growth, not job creators in the private industry. Governor Wolf's liberal ideology threatens the American entrepreneurial spirit. His stance on sanctuary cities aligned with radical California Governor Jerry Brown, leaving our children and our communities at risk. We need a governor who is a leader, a fighter, and someone who will make tough, critical decisions on behalf of hardworking Pennsylvanians. I am 100% confident that the right person to fix Pennsylvania is sitting right here in this room right now. I have no doubt in my mind that Senator Wagner will go to Harrisburg, and like President Trump, he will fight day in, day out for us. He won't back down from the political establishment, and he can't be bought by special interests. It's time we elect a job creator to the governor's office. Someone who's created thousands of jobs and signed the front of paychecks. Someone who understands how to manage and run a budget, and someone who vows to implement zero-based budgeting, which is so critical right now for our state. Scott Wagner is the right leader for Pennsylvania. He has the business acumen, the moral character, the drive, the work ethic, and most importantly, he has the guts to go to Harrisburg, drain the swamp of incompetence, complacency, and wasteful spending that is preventing Pennsylvania from being the true Keystone State. On behalf of the 4,000 grassroots members throughout Pennsylvania, our board unanimously voted to endorse and back Senator Scott Wagner to become the next governor of Pennsylvania. We look forward to closely working with your campaign, and together we will fix Pennsylvania.
Steve, thank you. Listen, it's great to be here. And listen, I'm humbled by the crowd. And you know, we have a newspaper reporter with us, Angela's Columbus, with the Inquirer. She works out of Harrisburg. And we were just talking a couple minutes ago, and Angela asked me about the campaigning. Is this getting tiring? And yeah, I'm getting up at typically 5 o'clock in the morning, and I roll back in around 11 at night. And many of you know John, my driver. John is actually 78 years old. And so we put a lot of time in. John will pick me up. John has to leave his home at 5:30 to pick me up at 6 or 6:30. And a lot of times we roll in. If we roll in at 11, he's back home at 11:30. But, you know, Angela asked me about, does it get tiring? And yeah, it is. It is tiring. It's an incredible pace. It's really hard to believe I've been out since 2014. Yeah. And then with the Senate campaigns. But what makes it worthwhile, and what just takes away, any feeling of being tired? Yeah, I'll get in the truck and I'll be happy to head home tonight. But it's being around people like you. And I was just in Danville, for 2 hours and met, a lot of Republicans that came together from Northampton, Columbia, and Montour County. And then yesterday I started in Lancaster County with one of the Republican clubs in southern Lancaster County, about 110 people to breakfast. And then we went up and met with some farmers up in Mount Joy, spent an hour with the farmers, and then the farmers were telling me that the cattlemen, beef cattle farmers, and they were running the Atlantic Sunrise pipeline across their property. And so we went to a small airport to get picked up by the helicopter, and we came across a road where the pipeline was actually coming across the road. So we stopped and shot a video, and I got to talk to the pipeline foreman. It's the Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline, 42-inch pipe. It's owned by Williams Partners, and check out Williams Partners on the stock exchange because they have a pretty good dividend. But I learned something. So I asked the farmers. The farmers were paid for by the easement. And I'm getting off track here, but the farmers told me they were paid for their easement across the property, and it's like no big deal, and they're happy to have it there. So I talked to the pipeline foreman, and he said, Williams, and this was important for me to hear this. He said, we were told by Williams Partners that they need to accommodate every single concern of every landowner where that pipeline is running. And the guy from Williams that told him said, if you can't do it and you can't take care of the landowners and make sure it's done right, I'll find somebody that can. And the guy goes, he said, we heard their message loud and clear. So for me, that's a good thing because that's a 42-inch pipeline that's going to carry natural gas across the state. So I just wanted to mention, but for me, and then I went down to Newtown Athletic Club. Jim Worthington, a friend, had a huge event. He basically donated one of his big buildings, and people from Bucks County it was a community event where it was an educational day about the opioid heroin crisis. And I mean, they had 100 vendors there. I met a ton of people, and literally, and this is what really this was just humbling for me. There was a line probably 30 or 40 feet long of people wanting to take a picture with me. And Jim, he's back there, hey, you gotta get your picture with the next, he was like queuing everybody up. But I just get to meet a lot of really nice people, veterans and, seniors and, young college Republicans and teenage Republicans, and then you guys with your pickup truck outside. What's important, and Steve, this is so important, and you need to know this. You're 36 years old. I'm 62. I've had every opportunity here in Pennsylvania. I've started businesses really starting at age 19. The fact that you're involved is so critical, because there was a period of time where, and I think it was really my generation, possibly my parents' generation. We just went in and we elected people, and we trusted they were doing good things up here in Harrisburg, and they really weren't doing good things. They were doing things that weren't good. But it's important you are engaged. And when I look around the room, Mike's here, Doug's here, you have Dave Sunday here, and you guys are part of your community. And then you have the team. This is the team. And so I appreciate the endorsement, and I appreciate the friendship. And when I get over there, it's going to be a big deal.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but thank you very much.
That's my pleasure.
I'm holding my phone because I was just calculating something. I have a reading addiction. I read all the time. I read Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Forbes, Fortune. I probably read about 30 to 40 publications, and whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. And so I had an opportunity as I was traveling yesterday to read the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday editions of the Wall Street Journal. And there were a couple things, and then I read the Saturday morning this morning. But there were some things that just jumped out. That the federal tax cuts that the Senate, House and Senate passed, and with President Trump's signature, have resulted in people seeing more money in their paychecks. At Penn Waste and KBS and Eagle Disposal, our employees are seeing 2.5% to 4% more. But the article went on to state that the average American household is going to see another $2,900 a year. That's a big deal. So what I did is I just, I pulled up, there are 13 million residents. So I just, did a little math, and I came up with 4 million households in Pennsylvania. $4 million, 4 million homes or households times $2,900 a year is $11,600,000. No, it's $11,600,000,000. Okay, that's almost $12 billion. My number one goal as governor is to make sure that I protect your paycheck and I protect this money that's now coming in to Pennsylvania via federal tax cuts. I mean, can you imagine $12 billion more that's in the economy? Yeah. Now, I will tell you that if Tom Wolf gets reelected, he's looking for at least probably 30 or 40% of this. He's going to be back again looking for his $4.5 billion. Okay? And so this is very significant. And how we're going to do it, we're going to balance the checkbook at the Capitol. I'm sure that a lot of you in this room have checkbooks, and I feel confident you balance your checkbook at least once a month. Okay? Unless you're like Kevin Martin there and you have so much money, it doesn't matter.
Low blows.
Oh man.
Bank calls Kevin every other week. Kevin, you got so much money, you got to do something. But listen, why should Pennsylvania households balance the checkbooks at their kitchen table and in their homes or businesses, and we haven't balanced our checkbook in 30 years? And I've seen it firsthand. Hey, listen, I might be a guy with a high school education. I don't have an MBA, college, all these college degrees, and I respect those people. But the bottom line is, I can look at a financial statement and I understand. I'm telling you, we haven't balanced our checkbook in 30 years. And when we do zero-based budgeting, that's going to help us protect your paycheck. We're gonna zero-based budgeting. Steve is gonna probably find 1.5 to 4 billion the first year. And you know what? And there's a scenario that has to happen. Listen, everywhere I go, I hear about school taxes. Listen, we've heard the message loud and clear. People want their school taxes eliminated on their homes. We're gonna get it done. But there's a first thing, and I'm a co-sponsor on Senate Bill 76. Senate Bill 76 has some provisions, and there's potential uptick in the sales tax from 6 to 7, some other things. But there's one thing I learned in life: the horse always pulls the cart, and I have not seen a cart anywhere that pulls the horse. So what we're going to do is we're going to do zero-based budget. We're going to balance our checkbook, and we're going to find out how much we have or don't have. Then we're going to move on to Senate Bill 76. We're going to do this fast, and we're going to do it the way it needs to get done. But we're also going to jumpstart the economy, but I'm a little scared about jumpstarting this economy. There's a booming economy nationwide, but if we jumpstart our economy here in Pennsylvania, where in the heck are we going to find 200,000 to 400,000 skilled labor positions? People, I don't know. It is our single biggest challenge. But I can tell you, we're going to roll back regulations. We're going to start treating businesses like they should be treated, like Doug and I treat our customers in our business, and we're going to become a lot more customer friendly. And so there are a lot of things we're going to do. We're going to do them fast, but I can tell you why. This is probably for the first time in, I don't know. This could be, I don't know this if this has ever, ever happened the way it's going to happen. I've been in the Senate for 4 years. I know Mike Regan, okay, and I know Steve Bloom. I know John DeSanto. I know all the senators, Democrat and Republican, and I know House members. The fact that I have 4 years of relationship in that building is real big. I'm not going to need 4 years to go through an orientation program or wear training wheels. We're ready to go. So, but we have to, number one, bounce our checkbook, and we have to focus on our education system. Again, when you think about 200,000 to 400,000 skilled labor positions open, and we don't have the people, we really have to focus on the trade schools. We have to re-look at our K through 12 programs and what they're doing. And I could go on listen, I'd love to talk about this for 2 hours because this is in my wheelhouse. But the bottom line, there's so many opportunities. We have to take care of our veterans. We have to take care of our seniors. And as I travel around the state, it just really saddens me to know that there are homeless veterans. It saddens me to know the amount and the number of veteran suicides that take place. It's not right. And we have to really focus on our veterans. And again, we have an aging population in Pennsylvania. We have to take care of our seniors. And to think that when we talk about veterans not being able to get prescriptions, homeless veterans, and you think about seniors, all that, the issues. But I can tell you, we have I don't know how many state prisons, and we spend about $55,000 per inmate. And I can tell you, I've been in a couple of the prisons, and I've also been hearing more and more about nursing home conditions. And I met with nursing home people. We need to focus on, instead of the human services going in all the time and catching people in the gotcha moment, and they nab them. Let's start working on helping those people. If we go in and we find things, we need to have training programs. We need to help them, and we need to shut down the bad operators and focus on the good ones. But at the end of the day, my point is, we have inmates in state prisons that are living better than some seniors. Okay, and that's not right. So, and then Dave Sunday is here, and I'm going to wrap up on this, but Dave got involved. I think really right after I joined the Senate, we started having some meetings, and we ended up going to the a heroin opioid hearing over in Reading College. It was held back in June, and I invited Dave over. Senator Yaw was holding the hearing, and Dave went along, and we had some. I think we had Steve from York Adams Drug Council, who's the treatment side. We had some law enforcement folks that went along. Dave came back, and in the van he said, on the way back, we've got to form this thing right away. So Dave, along with Pam and other folks, formed the York County Heroin Task Force in 2014. We've been up and running for 4 years, okay? And, when you think about what we've done and what we've accomplished, Dave and Pam have moved. I think it is now the York Opioid Collaborative. Is that the?
That's right.
Okay. And so what I will tell you is that this is the largest crisis we're ever going to see in our lifetime. I mean, this is off the charts. The opioid, the heroin. But if you sit down with Dave, if we could sit down with Dave for an hour and Dave could tell you what he knows, you would you would be just completely numb and blown away by what's going on with this heroin opioid crisis. But what I'm going to do the morning after November that I am the governor-elect, I'm going to reach out, my team's going to reach out to all the district attorneys around the state. We're going to reach out to the treatment folks, law enforcement folks. We're going to bring in some recovering addicts that have been through this whole experience. We're going to bring in parents of victims. And we're going to meet somewhere. We're going to do it before December 15th of this year. And I'm going to ask Dave, I'm going to ask the district attorneys and all the different stakeholders, how can I help you? And I will tell you, I've heard about, not lately I've been hearing about mandatory minimums. That's a big issue. I hear about the treatment time. Bottom line is that, really what is needed is leadership and everybody at the table figuring out, and I'm talking like the leadership in each county. And then it's going to require it's going to require money, and that's why we go to zero-based budgeting. We, start balancing our checkbook. We're going to figure a way to curb this, but it's a huge problem. But something happened on Friday that was very, very troubling to me. We have a governor over here who takes a lot of special interest money, and since 2013, this governor in 5 years has taken $8.5 million from 6 entities. Okay, all right, and one of those entities was from the Democrat redistricting PAC. He took $250,000. But on Friday, there was a bill sitting on his desk, Senate Bill 936, which had to do with drug formularies for injured workers. And, there's some opioid language in that bill. The governor vetoed that bill. And then he came out and he's doing some, executive order to curb opioids. But here's the problem. There's a law firm in Philadelphia, Pond-Lahaki. This was an article that was written in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Pond-Lahaki. Here's a law firm that does workers' comp representation of injured workers. Up until, and I don't know when it ceased, but they had ownership in pharmacies. A law firm, ownership in pharmacies. Then there are workers' comp doctors over here that also had ownership in these same pharmacies. And so an injured worker goes to this law firm, and the injured worker is then sent over to this workers' comp doctor, and this workers' comp doctor sends this worker up to this pharmacy. Now, I've been in the workers' comp system for a lot of years, and I know exactly fraud cases, how they develop, and all this kind of stuff. But this pharmacy entity has a PAC, and it's called Fairness PA. Okay? Last year, the governor got $1 million from Fairness PA. Now, I want to know, and maybe Dave, you could help me. Mike, you could help me. When a governor takes $1 million from a PAC, I want to, and I don't know who should we call? Should we call the Attorney General? I believe criminal activity took place because this governor, with the influence of $1 million, vetoed this bill. The afternoon that the House sent, now it was Senate Bill 936, it came out of the Senate and it went to the House. The afternoon that the House sent the bill, the governor had a meeting at Pond-Lahaki in Philadelphia. It's on his schedule. It's public information. What's that all about? Okay? Now, you've heard Mr. Mango mention this on the stage the other night, how I broke the law in Philadelphia. I heard that there was a lady running for district attorney, her name was Beth Grossman. I never met her. But I heard that George Soros gave $1 million to Larry Krasner, the district attorney, or the candidate who was running. And you know what I said? George Soros, I'm not going to say what I called him. I'm going to help this lady. Okay? I mean, seriously. So you know what I did? I set up a meeting and I wanted to meet her and I said, I want to help you. I told her I'm going to make a contribution, but I didn't tell her how much. So I came back and I talked to my elections compliance attorney. I use 2 elections compliance attorneys. They're the best. They told me what I can do. They told me that I could write a personal contribution with a certain limit, or I could use a partnership account or an LLC account, and it could be a greater amount. So you know what I did? I wrote a check out of the Scott Wagner Family Limited Partnership, but for $20,000, but there wasn't $20,000 in the account. I wrote a check out of my personal account, put it in there. Okay? Larry Krasner wins. Guess what? There's an investigation. Somebody files a complaint. The Philadelphia Elections Commission files a complaint. And they say I did something wrong. Well, I have documentation, but they're saying because I put the money in the account. Now, wait a minute. My partnership routinely owes me money. It's my money. I don't care what you say. So you know what I ended up doing? I ended up settling it for $3,500. I was told that I probably could fight it and win it. And trust me, I'm a fighter, but it would cost me $35,000 to $50,000. So if the Philadelphia Election Commission wants to assess me a $3,500 fine, and Paul Mango wants to stand on a stage and say I broke the law, I want something done about Governor Wolf and this $1 million. Okay? What it takes for us as Republicans to raise $1 million, and Tom Wolf got $1 million from this PAC. There's something wrong when workers' comp attorneys own a pharmacy and doctors who do workers' comp work own a pharmacy. There's something wrong. And I want something done about it. And I'd love to know who to call. I want to know, is Josh Shapiro the guy? I think he would be. Tom Wolf should be charged with something. And when you visit Tom Wolf, Angela, this is a great story. The guy received $1 million. But I'm serious, he received $1 million. And the same day that the House sent the bill, passed the bill, he had a meeting at Pond-Lahaki. Seriously, there's something wrong with this picture. Your paper did a story on this. I've had it with this guy. You know what? All he does is pick up the phone, he dials for $1 million like you've never seen. He has received $8.5 million from 6 entities in the last 5 years. That's why I'm running for governor. We're going to get rid of this guy, and you guys are going to help.
We're going to go vote. Now, this election tomorrow. Now you look like me.
Is my face as red as Steve's coat?
Come on. That's passion right there. That's real. That's passion. That's what we need. That's what we need. That's real. That's authentic. That's passion. It's truth. We need the truth. Listen, now you know why we're behind Scott Wagner. I want to tell you before we close out, I'm very grateful for everybody to come to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. That's right. Because 5 months ago, we wouldn't be coming to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. I am a doer. I'm not here to brag about myself. But if you're going to make change, and you got to do it yourself. You got to pull up your pants. You got to put on your boots, your work gloves to make it happen. I do sign the front of checks, not as big as Scott does, but I do write checks. I balance budgets. I develop. I hire. I fire, unfortunately. But we need somebody in Harrisburg that knows how to run a business. I'm going to tell you, my mom, when it was Trump's election, I made a pact to everybody, we did it in MAG, go out and change one vote. Change one Hillary vote to a Trump. If we all did that, we would get 4,000 switch. So my daughter's National Honor Society was the Monday night before election. So as mom's leaving Cedar Cliff High School, she's a lifelong Democrat, I give her a hug, good night, and I said, Mom, don't vote tomorrow for yourself or me. Vote for your grandkids and the future of the country. And that lies in the hands of Donald Trump. That's where we are today in Pennsylvania. When you go to the voting booth, you have to vote for Scott Wagner. Not the younger people in here, yes, but people like me and older, we've done a lot in our lifetime. I want to protect my children and my grandchildren. And that's Scott Wagner who's going to do it. Last thing, I want to recognize a few people that are running for state committee, including our very own Steve Johansson, Louisa Gahn, Alexander Stanley. Which I said I'm a doer. I only endorse doers, and there's 3 big doers that are endorsed by mayors. And lastly, I want to call out my father, who's here, who's a 61-year voting Democrat who switched over in Mike Regan's campaign. Dad, we're finally glad to see you saw the other side, okay? Thank you for coming to New Cumberland, and Scott Wagner will be our next governor.
I also forgot to mention, Jeff Bartos would have been here this afternoon. Jeff's mother passed about a week ago, and so Tracy, my wife, went down to Jeff's home. They had a shiva this afternoon and this evening, so Tracy and Quinn went down to Jeff's home, but he just wants to pass on everyone that he's out pounding away, and thanks you for all your support.
Thanks for being here,
so,
Scott.
we're going to get this done.
Yep.
Yeah, baby.